3 years ago, Apple showed us a preview of what the future of CarPlay could be. And at the time, we had a lot of questions. Does this mean Apple's building their own car? Does it mean they're gonna take over the dashboard and do everything and kick the automakers out? Or is it just a new kind of CarPlay? Now, we finally have our answer. It's called CarPlay Ultra, and it's debuting in an Aston Martin. So let's see how it works. So here it is, the new version of the CarPlay you know and love. Now you could just go on about your day using CarPlay like you always have, but now there's CarPlay Ultra. And voila, Aston Martin's native software and their interface is replaced with everything harmonized with Apple. This is now the Apple CarPlay Ultra version of the Aston Martin interface. It has a lot of Aston Martin design influence, but you can do so much more than that. And you can see the level of integration here. This is an Aston Martin DBX. The car that we're sitting in has been rendered here in the thing. So this isn't Apple just taking over everything. This is Apple and the automaker working together to create a system that has and retains some of that personality of the company that made the car, but gives you a harmonious experience. Colors, the shapes, the rounded corners, a lot of these things that are part of the Apple aesthetic also now carry over here. And then we get into the really new stuff here. See, what CarPlay is doing is it's talking to the vehicle and it's taking the information from the vehicle and rendering it for you in its own design. So we still have all the gauges, the speedometer, and we got the tire pressure monitor here and tachometer, all sorts of things that you need, all those things that are required legally to have. But now they've got the new look, a look that you're more familiar with. If you are an Apple Power user, even if you're not, if you're just someone who owns an iPhone, this is still what you're used to looking at. And especially if you use CarPlay in your car today. We get even farther into what CarPlay can allow automakers to do. This is the widget screen here. You've got everything shown as bar graphs in this case, in their own format. This is not something that an automaker came up with, and it's still customizable to extent here. And in the future, these widgets might even be customizable. And the farther we swipe, the more we get to various different looks for what this can do. It's here. And again, this is all Apple Maps instead of whatever native system was built into the car from the factory. So that means all of your saved locations and if Siri knows that you usually head home from work at 5 o'clock and you've got that feature turned on, well, it can bring all that up in the car, same as if you were doing it from your phone in your previous car. Not only that, there's customizability beyond that. So we just picked the default theme here, but there are so many things you can pick from, right? And each one of these can be customized. You might be thinking all this, well, if Apple takes over all my screens, how do I control all the things that I usually did from the car, right? Usually you had to back out of CarPlay, go find whatever setting you're looking for. Well, Apple has gone out of their way to really try and make as many of those settings work in CarPlay as possible. And they've worked with the automakers to do this, right? So like if I want to change the climate controls, I don't have to back out of CarPlay. I just hit this new icon here for the climate controls. And now I've got my settings right here, front and rear climate zones, all the things that this car can do. And in fact, this car has got some custom modes like warm up your feet. Now, in the Aston Martin software, that might look different, but it's the same function. So if I hit that, it will just tell the car, hey, it'll translate, this is what I want you to do, and the car will do it. In fact, automakers can take it a step further with a new home screen layout that isn't enabled on this Aston Martin, but might look familiar if you have a Mac computer or a Tesla. It takes all of the recently used app icons that usually live on the left-hand side of the screen and moves them to a dock at the bottom. That way they're always there, and they get climate controls that are always available so that you can reach them without having to go into the climate app. And in fact, if you tap on them, they bring up shortcuts to various climate features, again, so you can access them at any time without having to leave whatever app you're already in. And you want to change your stations. Again, it keeps the same look. So you're not trying to find everything every time you are switching devices or switching, what functions you're using. Same thing even when you go into the settings. Now this car has a, high-end stereo that's been, integrated into it. and it's got its own settings. And in this case, this one, reverts a little bit back to, you'll see that the font's changed, and this is more of the native system, but in the future that could be integrated as well. But you see, we're still in CarPlay here. We haven't had to back out of it to go dig and find these settings to change, where the sound is concentrated in the car here. We just do that, we back out of it, and we're right back to maps, or we're in our apps, our home screen, whatever we want. And this doesn't just go for the screens either. This goes for Siri as well. Now, there's not a one-to-one relationship quite yet. Not every single function that you can find in the screen here is something that Siri can do. But for a lot of them, you can. I can say, hey Siri, set the temperature to 78 degrees.
Temperature is now set to 78 degrees.
Now you can see there's a level of overlap here, right? Like all these hard buttons, well, I can change the temperature here, or I can do it on the screen. I can change my drive mode down here, and you'll see it'll pop up with a very Apple-looking notification letting me know that we've changed drive mode. But I can also do some of the vehicle settings here, right? I want to change the individual drive mode so that the exhaust is loud, but the steering is light and the suspension's not too stiff. So you get a lot of level of customization of what the, vehicle can do here. I can change my driver assistance settings. And I can do a lot of these things without having to go back out into the Aston Martin system. Another cool thing that CarPlay Ultra gets that you don't get if you're just using standard, regular, old school CarPlay is you get your widgets, right? So you already have your icons, you have your home screen here, but you also can swipe over and get these. There's some ones already loaded, calendars and the weather, reminders, clocks, standard things, but this isn't a done deal. There will be more widgets in the future that you can download and customize. So if there's some specific app or specific widget that you really like, that you think would be handy to have in the car with you, great, it'll probably be available at some point in the future. And that's the thing, CarPlay Ultra is just as up to date as your phone is. Whatever OS your phone's running on, if it's up to date, you've got it. If you download new apps on your phone, new widgets that are CarPlay compatible, they're here. You don't have to think about, oh, I need to go add that to my car or add it to CarPlay or whatever else. If it's on the phone, it's there, because even though the screens are rendering the images here, all of the computing is still being done through your phone. The car's telling, the screen, hey, here's what number you should put for the speedometer, but all of your information and all of your data, all your privacy is still done through your phone. So it's all covered by Apple's privacy policy. It's not sharing your data with the world. It's not sharing it with the automaker. It's all in the phone. So anything that you feel comfortable doing on your phone, in theory, you should feel just as comfortable doing with CarPlay in your car. So no, Apple is not reinventing the car. They're not building their own car. They're not taking over the car. They're giving you CarPlay that you know and love, but a whole lot more of it with a whole lot more capability if you use an iPhone. For the full story, go to MotorTrend.com.